Hello Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be answering your questions to celebrate hitting 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube. I am so excited to share that we have hit 100,000 subscribers here on my channel. It is so amazing to see the Classic Crew growing. I'm so excited to have this community here where we can all share our thoughts openly and respectfully. That is just so wonderful, and I just am so happy to see so many people who are interested in classic living and traditional values. That is just a wonderful thing to see. So I'm really excited to do this video today where I'm going to be answering questions that you guys submitted on Instagram. So every month I do a live stream Q&A and I answer questions specifically from my Substack subscribers. But to celebrate hitting 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube, I thought I would open it up to everybody. If you're interested in being able to submit questions for Q&As regularly, then make sure to subscribe to my Substack newsletter where you'll get access to a ton of other exclusive content. As well, if you're not already subscribed to my channel and you want to be part of the Classic Crew, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can get notified of every new video I post. And now let's just hop right into the questions. So we have a ton of questions to go through, so let's get right into it. Someone was asking name for the baby, and I want to answer this question in a way. So first of all, Jacob and I actually aren't going to give our son a name officially until his circumcision, which in Hebrew is called a Brit Milah. That is when he enters the Jewish covenant with God, and that's when he gets his name. So we actually don't give him a name until then, which is 8 days after he's born. But we also don't want to choose his name until we see him. So we have a few names that we both really love. They're pretty biblical, but we don't want to choose his name until he's born and we see what he looks like and see his personality and say, okay, well, this name looks like it fits him. Now, even with all of that in mind, we are not going to be announcing our son's name on social media. We don't want to make that public information. I'm a public figure and it's just not safe. It's also not something that he can consent to. So that's another thing. I'm not gonna be sharing much of him on the internet. I'm gonna be showing kind of the back of his head if he's with us or like if he's walking or something, but I'm not going to be showing his face except for right after he's born. I don't want him to grow up and realize his entire life has been online and he never even knew about it. So I'm not going to be sharing a lot of information about him, but I will be doing kind of mommy videos talking about my experience as a mom, if that makes sense. The next question is, will you post more opera music content in the future? So yes, I do music videos on my channel every once in a while, and I really love doing those. They're really fun. I want to get even better at that. I want to, at some point, be able to record in a studio. I would love to record an album. I was thinking about doing something like recording an album of songs for the nursery. I think that could be really, really special. But you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments. I think that could be really cool. But I love my singing career. I love being able to make music, but it is not my main focus. It's not what I do on my channel for the most part. So I kind of sprinkle it in here and there. If at some point I got the opportunity to sing with an orchestra again, oh my gosh, I would never turn that down. That's a dream. And music will always be part of my content, but it's not the main part of my content. What age did you start singing opera? So I started singing opera when I was 16 years old, which now is 12 years ago, which is super weird to think about. But yeah, I've been singing for a really long time. And I think it's really, a lot of it has to do with your voice maturing. I used to think that a lot of it was about, oh, my technique isn't good enough. But I think over time, your voice just matures. And it's just, you obviously need to have good technique. You have to practice. But a lot of it is just getting older. And I feel like as I've grown, my voice has gotten stronger just by virtue of the fact that I've gotten older and these muscles have gotten more mature. How to navigate maintaining traditional values while also having masculine hobbies? That's a really good question. I think that as a woman, you don't need to have just feminine interests in order to be feminine. I mean, this is a kind of misconception in the traditional community, I think, is that what makes women women are feminine interests. I don't think that's true because I know a lot of women who are wonderful mothers and who are tomboys. And they are wonderfully traditional women, and they like to go out and do kind of masculine things. I think it's good to always have a balance where you are embracing kind of the inherently feminine qualities that make us women. But your interests can be all over the spectrum. I like to play video games with Jacob, and I know that a lot of women would not find that interesting at all, I know I really like building furniture. I think that's a really fun endeavor. That's not technically a feminine hobby. So you can be traditional and have masculine hobbies. That is a false dichotomy that you would have to only be interested in girly things in order to be a feminine traditional woman. That's not true, because many of our feminine qualities are internal and they're about that caring aspect of womanhood, as opposed to kind of the external feminine things that we can enjoy. But if you are interested in masculine things, that's also fine. So I think that there is no problem with being a traditional woman and having masculine hobbies. What are you most excited about when your child is born? That is a great question. There's so much I'm excited for. I'm trying to narrow it down, but just like this little person that I get to take care of, and that I get to do that with my husband and teaching him about God, that is so exciting to me. Now, this is a very specific thing, but something I look forward to is baby yawns. I think baby yawns are like the cutest thing in the world. So I'm very excited to see my baby yawn. That is what I've been looking forward to. It's something I look forward to. And something I look forward to as well is taking him to the beach. The idea of babies in little sun hats at the beach is so cute to me, and I can't wait for that. Now that's a little bit down the road, but that's gonna be fun. And then of course, just like dressing him, putting him in little sweaters and little bear hats. I can't wait. Oh, he's so sweet already. I love him so much already. If you could devote your time to any skill or hobby, no matter how random, what would it be? So it's really funny you ask that because I was literally thinking about this morning. I wish I knew how to paint, well. I don't really know how to paint well. I like painting, but I'm not good at it. And I would love to learn how to paint. I think that that's like a really beautiful kind of way to express yourself and a way to spend your time. And I love the idea of enjoying just time passing while you're putting something creative on a canvas. I would love to learn how to paint and really actually be good at it. I just think that that's like a really beautiful thing to embrace, but I don't know that I'll ever get around to it. Despite the nasty comments you receive, how do you stay motivated to push for truth? I know a lot of people are deeply affected by nasty comments, and I really do understand it, but for the most part, they don't affect me. I find that when people leave nasty comments, it's generally because they're unhappy and they don't have enough to do and they have too much time on their hands. And so if I kind of recognize where those nasty comments are coming from, then it doesn't affect the way that I view the world and my perspectives. I think it's really important not to let other people who are not giving you good arguments shake your belief system. And I have really worked hard to back up everything that I believe with facts and to read about it and to study it. And so everything that I believe is really coming from a place of me having educated myself and wanting to share that with other people. And so it's not just, oh, I believe this and I can easily have my confidence shaken by a nasty comment. What I believe is truth. And if it is truth, it doesn't matter what you say that's mean. It doesn't change the truth and it doesn't change the facts. So I think it's just so important to continue to talk about classic living, traditional values, faith, family, and community. And at the end of the day, that's what's important. Favorite fashion decade of the 20th century. So I think for me, it would have to be, for my body type, it would have to be the 40s and 50s, just because my body type fits in with that style more. But the 20th century had so many interesting, every decade had a different style. And I think that that's so interesting. And there are other fashions I can look at and be like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful, but it would never look good on me. So things from like the 20s and the 30s are gorgeous, but would never work on my figure. So for me, 40s and 50s, I love the whole kind of accentuating the waist look. That's something I really, really like. Now, do I dress that way most of the time? Probably not. Many of the clothes that I wear are like flowier dresses, but I do like accentuating my waist. Not so much in pregnancy, as you might imagine. Advice on meeting people as a young adult professional. I often talk about that if you want to meet someone who you could have a future with as far as dating, then you need to go to places where people are going to share your values. So I think you can meet people at church or synagogue. I think you can meet people volunteering. I think you can meet people at events that you host or that somebody hosts with other people who share your values. So it's really important to put yourself out there. It's really easy to kind of sit back and let time pass and just imagine that the right person is going to fall into your lap. But that's not usually the case. And I think as a young adult, your best bet is going to be through your community, through your faith, and through your family. I mean, those three things are going to help you meet the right guy for you because they're going to actually have your best interests at heart. So if you are religious, going to a church event is going to be a better place to meet someone than going to a bar where you may not share the same values at all with the person that you meet. You may have chemistry, but you may not have compatibility. Now, getting set up by friends is the other great way to do things. So having a good friend group is really important. Jacob and I were set up by a mutual friend, and that's how we got married. So finding a friend group where everyone is supporting each other is really important. And by the way, if you are single, having married friends is really good for this because single friends can sometimes get a little competitive, but married friends just want you to get married so that you're all in the same stage of life and can talk more about kind of where you're all at. So married friends are a very, very good option when it comes to meeting someone. Were you always conservative or did it grow slowly over the years? So for me, I've talked about this on my channel a little bit. I grew up conservative and then I became more liberal when I was in my master's degree, when I was studying for my master's degree. I was just surrounded by it all the time and I wasn't diligent about educating myself on why I had been conservative growing up. I just kind of had taken that as at face value. And then when I was presented with the other side, I took that at face value. And so since then, I then became more conservative again when I re-educated myself and figured out, okay, why do I believe what I believe? Once I started taking those steps, then I was so much more confident in being conservative. And it wasn't just something I was raised with, it was something that I had taught myself and understood why I took those stances. That was a huge thing for me. Will baby boy be shown on your channel? So I sort of addressed this earlier. I'm not gonna be putting him on my channel with his face except maybe the very first time, like right after he's born, just to introduce you guys because you've been with me through this process. And you really can't tell what a baby's gonna look like from when they're a newborn. But after that, you might see, the back of his head, or we'll take photos with him not facing the camera. But he's not gonna be in my videos because I just don't want to spoil his privacy. I just don't think that that's fair to him. How is your hair so fabulous? Thank you. That's a really nice thing to say. I style it, which I think helps. And I have baby lights throughout my hair, or highlights and some around my face. Just getting some highlights can sometimes make your hair look really fancy. When I style my hair, I recently made a purchase that I'm very excited about, which was the Dyson Airwrap. And I now don't really need any other tools because it blow dries your hair into a curl, and then it's much healthier for your hair and it lasts a long time, at least for me. And I've really been enjoying using that. So that's how I style my hair. But I love taking care of my hair and I loved styling it. I found that when my hair looks good, even if my makeup is like meh, then I still look put together. Whereas if my hair looks bad and my makeup looks good, I won't look put together. So doing something with your hair, I think, is like a very important part of looking put together. What's your favorite natural makeup? So if I understand the question correctly, like a product, the foundation that I use every single day is by the Honest Beauty Company, and it is their CC cream. I believe that's like a clean company. So I really like their product. I also use it because it doesn't have chemical sunscreen, and when I'm pregnant, I don't use chemical sunscreens, but I absolutely love it, and I'm running low and I need to get another one. What have you done in order to prepare your family and your home for baby boy? So, well, let's talk about this for a second. Jacob and I are actually moving. We are moving next door. And that means that I have not been able to set up the nursery. I have not been able to get everything ready, and it is making me crazy. I've mentioned it a few different places. I've mentioned it on my Substack. I've mentioned it in a couple of videos here and there, but that's what I have not done. And it's making me insane. I want to nest so badly. When we get into that new house, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm gonna be like going crazy, cleaning, throwing out things, decluttering, and preparing the nursery. That is the plan, because as it is now, I am so frustrated that I can't prepare. But that is kind of like the biggest thing on my to-do list, is just get everything ready for the baby. What I have done, and what Jacob and I have done, is I'm reading the book Baby Wise. A bunch of my friends have recommended it, so I'm reading that. I am also working on my faith. Jacob and I both want to be more observant by the time our son is born, and then by the time he's really aware of what's going on. And so we have taken a lot of steps to become more observant in our faith over time. And that has been really meaningful for the both of us and exciting. And one of the big things we've had to prepare is the circumcision. So the circumcision, I already mentioned it, but we have to set it up with the mohel, that's the man who performs the circumcision. And we kind of can't plan it on a specific day because you don't know when your due date is. So like, you know when your due date is, but you don't know when you're actually gonna have the baby. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I would say we've mentally been preparing, emotionally been preparing, faithfully been preparing, and practically, I guess the biggest thing is I've made the registry, we've ordered some of the big products off of it, and that stuff is arriving, but I just haven't been able to set anything up yet. What's your hair regimen? Any favorite brands? So back to the hair thing. Tresemme, I know it's not like a fancy brand, but they have a couple of different products that I really love. I'll link them down below. One is like a water spray that you put in your hair before you dry it, and it's almost like a hairspray, and then their actual hairspray I really love. My regimen is I just don't wash my hair very often. I wash my hair maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and then when I do wash my hair, I use specific products. I use Hask, I think it's a Moroccan oil kind of thing, in the shower, and then I use a hair protectant every time I use heat on my hair. Does the baby kicking hurt? So I was about to say no, and it generally doesn't, but very rarely you'll get a kick that's like, whoa, and that can hurt if you're in just like a weird position. But generally, no. Generally, it can feel mostly like pokes and little like prods. And then when there's like knees and elbows, it can feel very odd and hard to describe, but it doesn't hurt. What is your favorite TV show at the moment? So Jacob and I watched Succession. We really enjoyed it, but also started to think it was not as well done in the last season. I still am looking forward to the next season, but this last season, there were a lot of things that frustrated me. But it's the show that I would say I think about the most often. I just think it's very interesting and well done. And in the same vein, what's the greatest movie to ever exist in your unbiased opinion? I mean, Lord of the Rings. All 3 as like a package deal. Do you want daughters after you have your son? You know, I actually love the idea of having a lot of boys, but I also would love to have a daughter. So I'm very flexible on that. You know, Jacob and I want to have, with God's help, 5 children. And so we would love to have, I'd like to have at least 1 girl. But I also, like I said, I think it'd be really fun to have boys close in age so that they could play. So I could imagine being really happy with having a son after this one. But if we have a daughter, I mean, that's also awesome, because then there's no pressure. If we want to have a daughter later, then we've already got a daughter and a son, and now we can have whatever, and we'll have had both. Okay, so my camera literally just stopped filming because I had so much recorded. I've been sitting here for so long. Oh my goodness, there's so many more questions. Okay, let's see. I want to answer as many as I can. Let's see if I can get to as many more as I can. What is something you and your husband enjoy doing together? We love taking walks together. Love it. Running errands. I know that sounds so silly, but I love running errands with Jacob. Running errands when it's just you alone is like a chore, but when we do it together, it's something fun that I really look forward to. So that's really nice. And then as far as like fun things, we play board games together. He loves board games, and so we'll play board games together. What does being pregnant feel like? Clearly never been pregnant here. So the first trimester, you feel sick all the time, but you don't feel physically pregnant. Second trimester, until you start feeling kicks, you like forget that you're pregnant because you're not feeling sick. You feel pretty good. And it's just an interesting thing. You go from like feeling sick all the time to not feeling sick and being like, am I still pregnant? And then third trimester, you feel like heavy and just like all of these movements, and you feel very pregnant, if that makes sense. So it's such a special thing. You're hungry, you feel like, I don't know, like you're doing something amazing. And that's a really cool feeling, is that like even just existing, you're doing something really important. And I think we should try and feel like that even when we're not pregnant. But when you're pregnant, it's very easy to feel that way because you're like taking part in the creation of a person. So that's a really special feeling. Love your glow. Thoughts on epidural versus natural birth. So I touched on this in a different video. I don't remember which one it was, but I am somebody who thinks that if you want to get an epidural, absolutely go for it. I am going to attempt natural birth, and if it doesn't work for me, then I will get an epidural. I want to be very flexible. I don't want to make this an emotional situation where if I feel like I'm just absolutely not able to handle it, I'm going to blame myself as if I did something wrong. I want to view natural birth as something I can attempt, and it's like a really cool thing. And for those women who do it, I think that's amazing. But I don't like the idea that we have to hold an epidural against anybody. So I am going to try a natural birth and see what happens. What are some of your favorite clothing shops? So hard finding cute, modest clothing. So I'll be completely honest, I shop at 3 places. I think that's the only thing I do. I shop on Amazon and order things off there. I shop at TJ Maxx, and I shop at Target. Those are like the 3 places I shop. If I can't find it at one of those 3 places, I'm stumped. They're affordable, they have a lot of good options, and you can do easy returns. And that for me is like the big thing. This dress is Amazon, and I really like it. How do you think you'll balance working from home, YouTube, and a newborn? With God's help, with my husband's help, with family support. Those are kind of the ways that I'm hoping that everything will come together. I don't think it's gonna be super easy because I'll be balancing the tasks of being a wife, of being a mother, and having this job, which I love. But it's something that I think if you view it as I'm going to devote my time and energy into scheduling and being organized and not allowing life to be too chaotic, then it can be done. I mean, women have been doing it for a very, very long time. So I want to be really deliberate and intentional with my day, something I struggle with now. So I want to make sure that by the time little man arrives, I've got things under control. I've got things a little bit more segmented. I see women do this, and I have so much respect for them. So I want to emulate it myself, which is really not allowing the everyday things to build up until you're just totally overwhelmed. I really want to work on just staying mindful and being aware of how much time I'm spending in certain things. Now, in the first few months as we're adjusting, I'm sure everything's going to be all over the place. but it is just a plan and a hope that I have. Instead of immediately assuming that things are going to go off the rails, I recognize that they will, but not saying, okay, well, that's just the way it has to be. Instead of saying that, saying, okay, well, I know it's going to go off the rails for a little bit, but I can commandeer this train and get things back on track. Was the kind of family you were marrying into important to you? Yes. When you get married, you don't just marry them, you marry their family. And I am the luckiest because my husband's family is amazing and I love them. And I knew that I wanted to have a good relationship with my in-laws, and I do. I feel so grateful for that. I absolutely adore them. They are just wonderful people, and I think it's really important to have a support system on both sides. I think it's really, really nice to have that. Have you always been so confident? It depends what you mean and in what area. I think I've always been confident in like, I'm gonna talk about my style. Like that was something I always really liked. And I would do stupid things and be like, this is gonna catch on for fashion. And it didn't. I remember doing that in like 7th grade. I was like, everyone is gonna start wearing scarves as belts. I'm starting the trend. No one did, and I did that for way too long. But as far as my views, I would say I was confident, but not in a necessarily positive way, because I didn't know why I believed what I believed. Nowadays, I'm confident because I can back up everything I talk about. So that's pretty great. But I've always been confident in the sense that I like meeting new people and I like making friends. How did your family react when you found out that you were pregnant? So, you know, I found out that I was pregnant twice this year. First when I miscarried and then second with this baby. We actually did kind of all of the fun telling people, recording their reactions with the first baby. And everybody was really excited. And then, of course, we miscarried. So that was really emotional. The second time when we got pregnant, I actually just called my whole family pretty soon after just to let them know, because God forbid something bad were to happen again. I wanted to have their support. And so they were very happy to hear that I was pregnant again. They were also praying for me. I think everyone in my family was really sweet and kind and supportive. Of course, everyone wants us to get pregnant. Everybody wants us to have a big, happy family. So everyone was excited, but also wanting to be there for me in that period of time between finding out I was pregnant again and getting to the point where the baby was like out of the woods and we were good. So that was that experience. Okay, last question for today's video. How do we teach young girls to aspire to motherhood over a career? I think this is a wonderful question, and I'm glad to finish today's video on it. So I think what we have to teach our daughters is that motherhood is so much a part of being a woman that you really can't divest it from womanhood. And having an amazing career, being a career woman is never going to fulfill you in the same way that being a mother will. Now, do you have to choose motherhood over a career? I don't think so. I think you can do both. But I think that prioritizing motherhood and saying this is something that's going to be important to me when I'm 70 years old, what's going to be there for me, my career or my grandchildren? You know, giving your daughters the understanding of how much you love being a mother and how much you love the experience of raising your children. I think that is really the important thing. And that's why I think, you know, all of this talk about like wine moms and how hard it is to be a mom, you know, of course your daughter's going to look at that and say, well, I don't want to do that. That seems awful. It's really important as mothers that we show our children how much we love this role that God gave us. And I think that also makes things clearer is when you have God in the picture. You can say, look at how God made men. Look at how God made women. Look at how God gave us the opportunity to grow children in our wombs. Isn't that an amazing thing? And, you know, even when I was more liberal, I always knew I was going to be a mother. Did I necessarily like connect with it in the same way as I do now? Maybe not, but it was always something I knew I would regret if I didn't do. And I think that's really important, is to teach our daughters that if you don't do this, you will regret it. And there is a point where there's no turning back, where you will not be able to have a child. So don't waste your time away and then lose the chance to be a mother. That's kind of tip of the iceberg, I think. I think there's a lot more I could talk about. Maybe that's a video I should do here on my channel. But I really love that question. Yeah, I think I might do a video on that. So thank you for asking it. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Thank you so much for being a part of my 100,000 subscribers. And if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, join the Classic Crew. I would also love if you would follow me on social media. It's at Classically Abby, absolutely everywhere. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!